Hey guys, today I'm going to be going over your lesson 3 homework, which the front of this, we have a couple of shapes and we're figuring out if they're scaled copies. And then is the back, we are going to draw our own scaled copies. So to start with the top, if I'm trying to figure out if two figures are scaled copies, I need to look for that pattern or that scale factor. So if I look at my first shapes, step 1 is to always count the sides because you're looking for that pattern. I have 2. And then up and down, I have 4. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. I have 3. Oops. I have 3, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and a half. Okay, so let's count that again. So I have 1, 2, 3 going across. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half going this way. Once I count the sides, I need to look to see if they have that scale factor number. So if I want to find the scale factor from my smaller shape to my bigger shape, since I'm going to the bigger shape, that means I take a big number divided by a small number. So to look for that scale factor, we're going to do 4.5 divided by 4. So in your calculators, you can type that in. 4.5 divided by 4. Just going to use my phone calculator. 4.5 divided by 4 gives me 1.125. So then I want to check and do the other one. So then we're getting bigger. So big number divided by small number means we're going to do 3 divided by 2, and that's going to give me 1.5. If your scale factors are different numbers, so I didn't get the same thing, then that tells us they're not scaled copies. So we are going to go ahead and say no. There is no scale factor. Yep. Change the color so that we can see. Now I'm going to look down at these triangles. So I'm going to count the up. So I have 1, 2 and a half, it looks like. So 2.5. And then here it looks like I have 1.5. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3. So again, I'm going to look for that scale factor. So if I want to find the scale factor taking my smaller shape to my larger shape, since I'm getting larger, that means take the larger number divided by the smaller number, always looking at your corresponding sides. So 5 corresponds to 2.5. So we're going to do 5 divided by 2.5. That's going to give us 2. And then take your second pair of corresponding sides, 3 divided by 1.5. Also gives you 2. So since we get the same scale factor there, I'm going to go ahead and say yes. The scale factor from the small to large shape is 2. Could have found your scale factor the other way. If I wanted to find my scale factor from the bigger shape to the smaller shape, you take your smaller number divided by the larger number. So if you draw these arrows, you're finding your scale factor, take the number that your arrow is pointing to first. Second set, we have these weird plus signs. So let's count our sides. I have 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. And then all around here, I have 1. So I can tell by looking at this without even really doing the math, I can see that it's not a scale figure, right? My number 1 here didn't change. I have 1 to 1, whereas this side of 2 was cut in half. So I don't really have to do that math. I'm just going to say no. There's no scale factor. Looking at the circle, this one might be a little bit more challenging. We didn't see too many shapes like this. So everything we worked with before, it's been very easy to count the sides because they're straight. The difference with this circle is that there's no straight sides to count. So in lesson 4 and 5, we're going to talk about a little bit more about if I see a shape like this where there's no straight edges, how can I count the sides? To kind of talk about that now, all we would have to do is make our own sides. So since I can't count the edges of the circle, What if I count this piece going up and down here, and then the piece going straight across? If I count those, notice I have 1, 2, 3, 4 going up and down, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 going across. So I'm going to pick those same corresponding parts in the bigger circle. So I'm going to count up and down. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'm going to count going across. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I found corresponding parts. So it's important here to know that corresponding parts does not necessarily mean the outside edge. I can find a distance on the inside of the shape that's easier to count. So I have 4 to 6 and 4 to 6. So find that scale factor. This time I'm going to figure out, well, what is my scale factor from the bigger shape to the smaller shape? So if I want to do that, since my arrow is ending at the smaller shape, I'm going to take my smaller number divided by my larger number. So if we have 4 divided by 6, that's going to give us 0.6 repeating. If we don't want to talk about scale factors with those decimals, we can always reduce our fraction. Instead of saying 4/6, we can reduce that to 2/3. And then I can do the same thing for my horizontal sides. I have 4 divided by 6, which reduces to 2/3. So that's obviously the same number. So my scale factor taking my larger shape to my smaller shape is 2/3. Scale factor from large to small is 2/3. Okay. Again, you could go from small to large. If you're ending at large, you would take large number divided by small number. So there's 2 scale factors we can find with every image. As long as you can find some number that's the same between your corresponding parts, then you know it's a scale figure. And then my last one, what color do I want to pick now? Let's go orange. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so now let's start talking about our corresponding parts. See if I can find that scale figure or scale factor. I'm going to go small to large. So if I'm going from smaller shape to larger shape, I'm ending in the larger shape, so I'm going to take all those larger numbers and divide them by their corresponding parts. So that means 6 divided by 4. That means 4 divided by 3. And then that means 9 divided by 6. So let's try to reduce our fractions. 6 and 4 I can reduce by 2. So that's going to give me 3/2. I can't reduce this, so this is completely reduced. And then over here, I can divide these both by 3 and get 3/2. Okay, so even though I found 2 parts that were the same, so my scale factor for these 2 sides, this one was not the same, right? I have 1, 2, 3, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have to make sure that number's the same for all of them. So I'm going to go ahead and say no scale factor. Okay, so that's your help sheet for the front of this. The next video below, you're going to be able to see me working out the answers for drawing my scale figures.